I wanted to show you something that I had found a while back, which is something that I think will be interesting to you all. Let me share my screen here. This is actually a project that's going on in India. One company in India is turning plastic bags into $100 sneakers, and they will ship them worldwide. I can't remember what city this was founded in, but the company is called Teli. And my understanding is he chose that because that's the Hindi word for plastic bag. And each one of the sneakers that they make takes 12 plastic bags and 12 drink bottles to make. And I'm going to send the link of this video. It's about a 6-minute video. So I'm going to send that to you, Hari, about so that you can show it to your students at some point. It's an interesting process because it shows the sustainability of what they're doing, but also some of the challenges that they faced when trying to work on recycling and reusing the plastic bags. Because as you know, they're everywhere, and to be able to use them, reuse them is something that's really, really important to be able to do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Good morning.
I am Sushali. I am studying 8th grade at GPHS Ailavaram School. It's my pleasure to meet you today. Here my question is, could you please share about waste management system being operational in your region?
I'd be happy to. Thank you for the question. We have a couple of different types of waste management systems. Some are run by cities, larger cities, like San Diego, where I live, like Los Angeles. Bigger cities around here have their own waste management company. And in smaller areas, I live outside of the city of San Diego, and we have smaller waste management companies, private companies, that pick up the waste management, or pick up all the waste that we have. They all take them to a central landfill. And I know the one that we have here is just about full. So there's been conversation about where a new landfill might go. But each of the companies, both the city ones that are government owned or the private ones, we usually have 3 different types of waste that they will pick up. One is just the traditional garbage waste, the plastic, the containers and things that can't be reused at all. So that's one can, and they're usually color coded. There's another can that is used for things that can be recycled: paper, plastics, cardboards, any of those things that we know are easily recyclable. Styrofoam, some styrofoam can be recycled as well. Then there's also a third trash can that's picked up by each one has a different truck that picks it up. The third one picks up, they call it greens recycling. So if you have branches, or if you cut the grass and they collect the grass instead of letting it sit on the ground, or tree branches, bushes, plants, things like that. Also food waste can go in there. Apples, leftover food, usually anything other than meats can be recycled in the greens recycling. So that seems to be common throughout California. And I've noticed that in most places across the United States where I have family and friends, that those 3 types of recycling. So the waste, the stuff that goes directly to the landfill, the recyclable plastics and papers, and then the greens, which can be composted, and then that can be used in turn for soil. And you can, at our landfill, you can actually go buy the composted material and use that in your own gardens at home. So that seems to be pretty consistent across the country as far as I'm aware.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. This is Nandini, an 8th grader from GPH School, Ailavaram. I am extremely fortunate to interact with you. Here, my question is, What sort of measures does your local government initiate to mitigate air pollution?
Thank you for your question. That's a really good one. The air pollution has been a big problem throughout the world. I know in India, I've seen and read stories about the air pollution there. Here in California, we are one of the top states as far as going green, meaning we are conscientious and aware of the pollutants that factories put into the air, and especially generating power. We have about 40 million people that live just in our state alone. And that's a lot of electricity because of all the manufacturing as well as the big cities. And so one of the things that California has been working really hard on is what are renewable sources of energy rather than burning coal, which causes a lot of air pollution, burning natural gas, which also causes air pollution. The government has created incentives for solar energy. So there's a lot of families that have solar panels on their houses, and that energy, whatever you don't use at your house, goes into the whole power grid, so anybody can use that energy. We also have a lot of wind energy, especially in the mountains that are east of where I live. There are a lot of wind turbines, and that's a renewable source. Since the wind is constantly moving, it's an opportunity to get power generated at a minimal cost. There are some issues about the materials being used, and when the generators break, they're not recyclable and reusable. So that's another issue that we have. But the biggest thing our state government is doing is creating incentives for businesses that generate solar power and that generate the wind power. So there's a lot of tax incentives, money incentives for businesses and households, families that put in the solar panels locally. That's really probably the biggest thing that they're doing for air pollution. One of the things I noticed, though, that the best thing that happened for air pollution, this was across the world, was when COVID came and all the factories shut down because they wanted to separate the workers. I know that reduced global air pollution. I think it cut it in more than half. I remember hearing stories from India that up in Delhi, they could actually see the Himalayan mountains, which they hadn't seen for a long time. And here in the United States, the same thing. The air pollution went way, way down. Unfortunately, we didn't do anything and make any changes. And when people started going back to work, all the factories are putting out the pollution again, and we're back up to the pre-COVID levels now of air pollution. So still a long way to go to reduce air pollution.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. My name is Monica. I'm 8th grader in GPHS Ailvaram. I'm extremely happy to interact with you, sir. How has been your day today?
My day has been really nice. I'm on vacation from school for this whole week. So I've had a really nice week and a really nice day because I was able to get up and just do whatever I wanted to. I could be as lazy as I wanted to today.
Sir, could you please suggest some alternative measures for using plastic carry bags?
Yes, plastic bags, like I talked about before, billions and billions of plastic bags are being used. When our state about 8 years ago passed a law, and it was actually voted on by the people that live in the state of California, when they voted to ban plastic bags, that was the single-use bag. So reach over here. So one of the things that they did was charging that 10 cents or about 8 rupees for a plastic bag. And what they did, though, is they made plastic bags such as this one that I'm holding, but it's a thicker plastic bag. So I was a bit frustrated when this first started coming out because you're replacing thin plastic bags with thicker plastic bags. Now, the good part is these can be used over and over and over. And I keep some of these bags that I get at different stores, and I take them in. One of the local stores gives you 5 cents off of your purchase if for every plastic bag that you bring in and that you reuse there. So that's one thing. But probably the best thing that I use is I have other bags like this one. This is a canvas bag. What I like about this, it's made out of a heavy material. It won't poke through, because with the plastic bags, if you get a sharp corner or something in the bag, it will rip your bag and then it's no good anymore. This bag has good strong handles, so I can carry heavy things in it. In fact, I just washed it this week because it had gotten dirty and gotten messed up with some stuff in it. But this one's nice because I've had this probably for several years now, and it hasn't worn out. So I'm able to reuse it over and over. So I think this is probably making cloth bags is one of the best things that could be done. And I know it's sometimes hard to get people to change their habits of plastic bags. There are a lot of people here that still use them without thinking, or they'll buy new ones in the store. But making things like this, or having things like this available for people, once they start using it, they'll realize that they can carry a lot more in this. That might even be a great project for a class like yours to undertake. If you have sewing capabilities or access to materials, that might be a really good class project that you all could do to help just even in your community reduce some of the plastic bag usage.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. This is Santi. I'm studying 8th grade in GPS School, Alavaram. I'm feeling glad to interact with you. Here, my question is, what subjects do you teach in your school?
In my school, I'm a 5th grade teacher. I teach in primary school, which I know is quite unusual. When I had the opportunity to visit India, I learned that men don't teach primary school, that's only for women. So it was very unusual when I introduced myself as a primary school teacher. In the primary schools, the teachers are responsible for all of the subjects. So I teach English language, so that's both reading and writing. I teach mathematics. I teach science. I teach social studies. And I even do some physical education with my students. One of the games that they love playing is Coco, which I learned when I was in India. And they've been asking me to play that again because they enjoy learning that game. So I do a little bit of everything with my students. I also do some art with them as well. So I teach a little bit of everything in my school.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. My name is Jagadish. I am studying 8th grade at ZPHS Sailavaram. I'm privileged to speak with you, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
I would like to ask you a question. Can I?
Pardon me?
I would like to ask you a question. Can I?
Yes, go ahead.
Could you please talk about sustainable development goals?
Yes, the Sustainable Development Goals are something that are very important, not only to me, but to the world. I'm going to share my screen again here to show you the Sustainable Development Goals. These are something that were created by the United Nations back in 2015. These were created to help make the world a better place. Let me get them up on the screen. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations has come up with. As you can see on your screen, these are anything from no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, all the way up through working with partnerships. And the Sustainable Development Goals are really important. The school that I work with is a STEAM magnet school, which means we focus in on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And as part of my curriculum that I teach is I try to work the Sustainable Development Goals into each one of them. For example, as we're studying in science, we do a lot with water, the water cycle, evaporation, and those processes in science. So one of the things we focus in on is clean water and sanitation. I do a water unit later on in the year, and we talk about the access or lack of access that some people have to water. And those that do have access, many times the water is not clean. And so that also ties into quality education, because if you don't have clean water, if you're sick from drinking bad water, then you're not going to be able to go to school. You're not going to have good health. So that's going to be some of the other sustainable development goals. What I've been learning about them as I teach them to my students and some of the other students at my school is that all of these are interrelated. When we have lack of education, we're going to have higher poverty. When we have hunger, we're going to have lack of education and lack of good health. So there's a lot of opportunities to incorporate these in your learning and to help understand how little changes that we make can affect the world. When I think about all the plastic bags, we talked a lot about plastics in here. Goal number 12 is responsible consumption and production. In other words, why are we making so many plastic bags if we know that they are bad for us? What can we do as an individual in my class, as a classroom, as a school, as a community? What can we do to reduce our use of plastic bags? So that all goes into our responsible consumption and production. Cleaning up plastic bags, cleaning up on plastic bags also affects life on land and life below water. One of the things I learned is that when our plastic bag ban went into effect, our waterways were much cleaner. They were getting fewer bags out of the water because there were fewer bags to be used. So there's a whole lot of things that can be discussed, and I hope this is something that you all will be able to learn a little bit about this year in your classroom there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Lakshman, an eighth grader at GPHS Alvaram. I am on top of the world to interact with you, sir. Can I ask one question?
Yes, go ahead.
What has been your unforgettable experiences in India?
Wow, there are so many experiences that I had when I was in India. I can't even think of what the top one would be, but there are so many different things that I experienced in India. First of all, just visiting the schools that I visited in. I visited schools in Bangalore and in Guriatam near Vellore. Visited schools in those communities. Also up in Delhi, we visited schools. And I was always impressed with how respectful the students were, how responsible they were. That impressed me significantly. Of course, the food in India, people would often ask me, students that I would meet would ask me, if I liked Indian food, and I said, yes, I did. And they asked me, well, what did I like? And there was so many different types of food. I couldn't even keep it straight, but I don't think there was anything that I didn't enjoy. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I learned to enjoy South Indian filter coffee. That was a great experience for me. And I think just experiencing the culture of India, of what it's like to be there, of all the different, how accepted all the religions are in India, that impressed me when I visited schools and I saw ceremonies honoring all the different religions and accepting them. I think probably my most unforgettable experience was just talking with students, talking with teachers, and getting to know people and realizing that the students there are just like the students here in the United States, that they want to do well, they want to study, and they want to succeed, and they want to make a difference in the world. So I could go on and on and on about all the things I learned and my experiences there. I got to play cricket, which I still have no clue exactly how to play that. It's very complicated to me, but I had a good time learning. To bowl when you pitch the ball? So I've had so many different memories and experiences, and I look forward one day to be able to return to India.
Thank you, sir.
So,
I am Sai Nagastri. I am an 8th grader. I am from GPHS I-Level. I proudly delighted to take an opportunity to interact with you. Sir, I would like to pose a question. In India, we have banned plastic carry bags, but still there is a use of these plastic carry bags are unabated, resulting in environmental threat.
Yeah, the plastic bag issue really is a global problem. And our success here in the state of California has been passing laws which require stores to charge a small amount for the bags, at minimum of 10 cents or the equivalent of 8 rupees for you all. And that reduced the use of plastic bags by over 80% in there. But one of the other things it also did, it also reduced the use of paper bags. Paper bags are used a lot in some of the stores here, and it reduced the paper bag use by 60%. So these laws, which were being enforced by the state of California, have made a significant difference. It's lowered plastic bags going to the landfill. It's reduced the amount of plastic bags found on beaches and in rivers. And so it's had a lot of different effects here in California. Now, unfortunately, that's not across the United States. California has been the leader, but more states are, as they're seeing the success of California, more and more states are making plastic bags harder to get. And so that's helping the problem somewhat.
Thank you, sir.
The next petition.
Hello, sir. This is Meghna. I'm studying 8th grade at GPH Salvaram. It is an honor to meet you. Here, my question is: would you mind telling us sophisticated recycling process of plastic, as plastic is growing menace here?
Yes, plastic is a problem globally. The production, the Sustainable Development Goal dealing with production and consumption is something that really needs to be addressed. The challenge with plastics is there are so many different types of plastics that have been created. Anything from plastic bags to hard plastics. As I look, like plastic containers that you have, plastic cups, like what I've been drinking out of. Those are different types of plastics. I have a plastic containers in my room. Each one of those is a different type of plastic, and only certain types of plastic are able to be recycled. It's a big challenging problem. I'm somebody that focuses in on recycling, but it's even hard for me. I get confused at times. There are many of the waste management companies will accept all the types of plastics, and then in their warehouse or their buildings where they empty the recycling into, the plastics are then sorted out and separated by numbers. So those that can be recycled can be. But unfortunately, I think a lot of our plastic ends up going into the landfill. And our landfills are filling up. That's a global issue that we make so much trash that the recycling would pay off if people actually recycle. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't bother to recycle. They simply just throw it into the trash can. So even though we have recycling programs, they don't work if the people aren't recycling their plastics.
Thank you, sir.
I'll share real quickly just to show you a little bit about where I'm at, and I can show my school and a little bit of San Diego. So let me share the screen here. So my school, as I said, is Franklin Elementary. We're named for Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of our country, as well as an amazing inventor. And we're named after Franklin Elementary, and we became a STEAM magnet school about 7 years ago, and using a lot of Benjamin Franklin's ideas to create innovators, scholars, and leaders. This is North America, just to give you an idea of where we're at. We are on the West Coast of the United States in California. It has the largest population of any of the states. We have about 350 million in the United States and about 40 million in California. I'm located in San Diego in the very southern part of the state. We are about 20 miles or about 30 kilometers from the border of Mexico. And I'm across the border and do a lot of projects with schools in Mexico as well. This is the front of my school. Benjamin Franklin is our school. We're going through a construction phase right now. My school is quite old and they're building a new building. So we've lost a part of our campus to the construction. This was a couple of months ago when we went back to school. And they've been building the floor, getting all the foundations set. And then last week at school, they finally started putting up the steel. We'll have a 2-story building here. And then the area where my classroom is located in, that will be renovated when this building is new. They're saying it'll be ready in the fall for us to move into. So I hopefully that will be the case. My students have planted a garden. Unfortunately, a lot of our garden area was eliminated when we began the construction project, but we've managed to get a few gardens growing. And we're just experimenting and doing some experiments with different types of soils and fertilizers and things like that. This is the city of San Diego. The Coronado Bay Bridge is a real famous place here where we live. It's a very beautiful city where it's right on a bay and we're right on the Pacific Ocean. Our county is quite interesting because about an hour east of the city, we've got large mountains and we do get snowfall in the mountains at times. We haven't gotten much snow or rain this year. We're a very dry climate and we don't get a lot of rain and we've been in a drought for quite a while. So we haven't seen any snow in our mountains yet this year. We also have on the other side of the mountains, we have the desert, the Enza Borrego Desert. It's beautiful in the springtime, but it's quite interesting because within our county, it can be a very large temperature change from the coast into the desert. So it can go anywhere from, let's say, and I know you all use the Celsius scale. So it can go it could be 20 degrees at the coast and it can be 40 degrees out in the desert. So it's a big temperature change out there. And of course, one of the things that California is known for is, of course, surfing. I have a few students that like to surf and get out in the ocean. And even with the cold water now, there are still people surfing today. I was down by the beach and saw a lot of people surfing there. So that's a little bit about where I live, a little bit about California. My challenge to you all is keep focusing in on learning how you can make a difference. When we look at the problems around the world, they seem overwhelming and it can be very difficult when we start to think, but we can't actually change the whole world without starting locally. So if you start in your school, my students, we go out and pick up trash at times. We'll go outside and just pick up loose trash on the campus because that keeps it from blowing into the ocean and polluting our waterways. You can start by, as your teacher was saying, stop using plastic bags in your household and work on a different type of bag that is reusable, that's not going to pollute as much as plastic bags are. Creating gardens and creating those types of things at your school, that your food that your school could use, or food that you might even be able to take home as students to your families. Creating gardens. There's lots of ways to make a difference, but the biggest thing that you have to do is you have to just get started. It starts one plastic bag at a time. It starts picking up one piece of trash at a time. And I encourage you all to really make a difference. Let the community see what you're doing. It's all the grown-ups that have messed up the world, and it's up to you guys as kids to come ahead, look at all the things that you can do, look at the difference that you can make, and start changing the world. One plastic bag at a time, one piece of trash at a time, one garden at a time. By taking those small steps, you'll be able to make a big difference in your community and eventually in the whole world.